deception. Open your eyes.
You can't handle the truth.
Pills on the table, scripts in their hand, money for the making, any way they can. Decades in the trenches, her wounds run deep, lifting the veil on the secrets they keep. They sold us comfort, they sold us lies, but the matrix cracks when we open our eyes. Doses of deception, silence our choice. She's restoring our freedom with a soothing voice. Medicine meets the matrix, no more disguise. Doses of deception, open your eyes.
What have you done for 20 years while the chronic illness epidemic just went on and on and on?
Needles and numbers, dollars and pain, profits in pockets while sickness remains. Her voice is the cure for the broken in need. Hope takes its root as she's planting the seed. They promised healing but sold us control. Her voice is the fire that's melting their hold. Doses of deception, silence our choice. She's restoring our freedom with a soothing voice. Medicine meets the matrix, no more disguise. Doses of deception, open your eyes.
People aren't going to be able to get it. That's right, because they are less willing to take on that liability because they don't believe that they're safe and effective. They were only safe and effective when they couldn't be sued.
Sever the wires, escape their control. Awaken to the truth that can rescue your soul. Doses of deception, silence our choice. She's restoring our freedom with a soothing voice. Medicine needs the matrix, no compromise. Doses of deception, open your eyes.
They knew about this and the antidote was already available. That's what Operation Warp Speed was. And Big Pharma came in and warped it. Good evening and welcome to Doses of Deception. I am your host, BB McGuire. The following presentation is solely for informational purposes and is not intended to provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, so please consult your trusted healthcare provider. Welcome everyone to episode 57 of Doses of Deception. Tonight is Tuesday, April the 21st, 2026, and tonight we're going to be covering the FDA reversing course on peptides, Bayer and Monsanto suing vax manufacturers over stolen mRNA technology, and Trump's executive order on psychedelics. Well, MedExam one of our chat moderators, is taking a very much deserved vacation. So Magaday is in that chat this evening, holding down the fort as our sole chat moderator this evening. So if you guys would please show her some extra love this evening in the chat. I want to express my gratitude for all of you watching and affirming with that thumbs up. You guys are getting this little show, Doses of Deception, on that Rumble leaderboard. And that means we're getting the truth out to more folks. So thank you so much for being part of the Doses team. Make sure you're following on the channel. You can just hit on Rumble that little bell that you see. And then if you would, maybe consider becoming a monthly supporter. If you're watching on X, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that little heart, share the show, leave a comment. And I just want to address something kind of quick with you guys, just a protective note from me to you. So I say at the beginning of every show that I never offer medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans via email or anywhere else. If anyone contacts you on Telegram or via Gmail, pretending to be me, or representing Doses of Deception in any way, offering any kind of personal health guidance, it is a scam. I'm going to say that again. It is a scam. I care about your safety. And so please stay vigilant. Look out for each other. And thank you again for being part of this community. I want to make sure everybody just stays safe. All right, so Mother's Day is around the corner, and Tulip Blooms is having a Mother's Day special. So I'm going to show this to you guys. Okay. See, look how good I'm getting at this. I'm doing this much faster. All right, tulipblooms.shop. Mother's Day special. You can build your own mom's basket. And Patrick and Ashley have put together BB's favorites. But you can choose any 3 products on the Tulip Blooms site and you'll save 10% off. Pick any 4, you're saving 15% off. Pick any 5 and you're saving 20% off. And this is valid through May the 11th. And then if you use code DOSES, you will have additional savings. Well, they put together some of my favorite products, a curated collection of the ones that I reach for again and again. And these are some of my favorites. They have Rainfall, Epic Moisture, Blue Calm Face Oil. This one I just completely fell in love with. The Morning Dew Refreshing Face. So good. And then, of course, Castor Smooth. They're all just amazing products. I haven't found anything on Tulip Blooms that I've used that I haven't loved. So you might find something that isn't in BB's favorites that you love or that you think your mom will love. So head on over to tulipblooms.shop and use code DOSES and put together something really nice for Mother's Day for your mom or wife or sister or, loved one. Okay. So tonight we have Julie Blue joining us. So I'm going to bring that amazing lady on. Good evening, Julie.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We're so excited to have you here. Well, Julie and I were talking backstage before we went live, which is why we were a little delayed because we were just yapping. And I said, "Oh, we need to start the show." So we were talking about the fact that something kind of big was going down before we went live. It was just a couple hours before we went live, but we were chatting about it. So we decided we wanted to show it to you guys. So I'm going to bring this up. Here we go.
This is big.
Yeah. All right. Let me throw it up here. So from Nick Sorter, let me just close that. Breaking. Well, I'll let you read it, Julie. You tell us.
Okay. This just happened a couple hours ago. It was just announced by Cash. Acting AG Blanche And FBI Director Patel announced a grand jury has indicted leftist NGO Southern Poverty Law Center on 11 counts.
Woo!
And yes, it's massive. Yes. SPLC said they were fighting white supremacy. This is so messed up. Said they were fighting white supremacy, but they were manufacturing the extremism they were purporting to expose by paying sources to stoke racial, this is so backwards, stoke racial hatred per Blanche. And the best part is they've been charged in the Middle District of Alabama. They're screwed. SPLC has been hit with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering.
Whoa. Well, let me, I'm going to bring this down and then I'm going to start this over so we can all hear it.
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred. The indictment describes this conduct in detail, but one troubling example is that the SPLC was paying a member of the leadership group that planned the Unite the Right protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of 1 person and injured dozens more.
Uh-oh.
This particular person being paid by the SPLC allegedly received approximately $270,000 over the course of 8 years. In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America,
What?
National Socialist Movement,
Can you believe
Aryan
that?
Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing.
Holy moly.
And now we know why they've been going after cash for this drinking on the job thing for the last couple weeks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And all the faggot out there about Todd Blanche this and Todd Blanche that.
Yep.
Holy moly. And wait a minute. Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan?
Right?
That's who
Like,
they're paying?
They've been calling us Nazis, right? That's what they call us and Trump and look what they're doing.
Well, it's the playbook, right?
Yeah.
Accuse your enemy of what you're actually doing, right? Isn't that
Absolutely.
it's like the Saul Alinsky playbook?
And here's another part of it. Devin Nunes is departing Trump media to focus on intel oversight. He's returning.
Oh, I mean,
I
didn't
can't-
Trump say you're going to be so tired of winning? You're going to
Oh,
be so
right.
tired of winning.
They're
Yes.
pulling Huckabee. They're pulling Huckabee out of Israel and making him come home.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard
It's
that.
going down. It's going down.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Because,
Yes.
you know, when we're all done with the show, we're all going to be like hitting X trying to get caught up because I didn't see it because, of course, you know, I'm in here getting the show prepped. So, yeah,
Right.
thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Absolutely. Big
Awesome.
news.
Well, you guys can follow Julie Blue on X. She is on top of all of this kind of stuff all the time. Her link is in the description below the show. So tonight we're going to be starting with a post from General Flynn's son, Michael Flynn Jr. Good morning, X. I love people who have genuine energy and good intentions. You know, the real ones with no sneaky shit or hidden agendas. Those are my kind of people. And Michael Flynn, I agree completely. Those are my kind of people too. And then we found this week. So Whole Foods is, let me just make this big over here so I can say Whole Foods is actually carrying organic sourdough products in their freezer section. This is from Paul Saladino on X. All of the bread I have seen at Whole Foods fresh contains folic acid, a form of folate humans should avoid. And I can attest to this myself because I have a Whole Foods in my neighborhood, and I was shocked to find the entire bakery section of this alleged, organic, healthy store. The whole bakery section uses enriched flour loaded up with this synthetic chemical folic acid. So unmetabolized folic acid appears to block folate receptors in the body. Folic acid does not occur in nature. Tetrahydrofolate or methylfolate are naturally occurring forms. Bioidentical folate is critical. Get your folate from food or use a supplement that contains L-methylfolate or another bioidentical form. And then this week, RFK announced that Gatorade is actually removing artificial FD&C colors and switching to the newly FDA-approved plant-based dyes from fruits and vegetables.
That's
so
awesome.
that's a great move. And here's a question. It's kind of a simple question. How come Dunkin' Donuts can't just use real eggs? Let's take a look.
Imitation eggs might be replacing real ones, and this Dunkin' customer caught it on camera, peeling the yolk off like paint.
This reheated puck is made without cracking a single egg. Dunkin's egg is held together with 12 ingredients. It starts as liquefied factory yolks, stretched with soybean oil, then seared at 70 degrees in industrial pipes. That slurry gets drenched in tap water and bulked with the same thickener used in latex paint, then frozen for weeks, shipped and cooked for the third time in a microwave.
Why can't they just use eggs?
Why can't they just use eggs?
I mean, I don't want to eat that chemical glop that looks like egg. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff that they we highlight this every week. This is the glop that they continue to throw at us and call it food. And then we're eating this and we can't understand why we're chronically sick. It's the food. So I wanted to share this with you guys this week because this Sam Mahul on X just nailed this. The year is 1950. Your doctor lights a cigarette and tells you smoking is fine. He read it in a study. He's telling the truth about having read it. He does not know or is not saying that the study was funded by the tobacco industry. The year is 1958. Your doctor tells you to eat less fat. The evidence is contested. The contestation is not in the public messaging. The food industry has been helpful in clarifying which findings deserve attention. Some researchers who publish contradictory data have been quietly defunded. Ansel Keys is on the cover of Time magazine. The year is 1962. Your doctor prescribes thalidomide to your pregnant wife for morning sickness. It has been approved. The FDA gave it the green light over in Europe. 12,000 children will be born with severe limb malformations before anyone in an official capacity acknowledges the problem. The families are told the drug was safe. The drug was approved. Both of these things remain true. The year is 1972. Your doctor prescribes Valium. Britain is in the grip of a benzodiazepine wave that will last 2 decades. The dependency risk is known internally. It is not shared. Your doctor is not lying to you. He was not told either. The year is 1999. Your doctor prescribes Vioxx for your arthritis. It is newer than ibuprofen, well tolerated, and Merck has a study showing it works. Merck also has internal data suggesting it roughly doubles the risk of heart attack. This data will not reach your doctor for 4 more years. 50,000 people are estimated to have died in the interim. 50,000. Merck eventually settles for $4.85 billion. Yet no criminal charges are brought. The year is 2002. Your doctor prescribes OxyContin. Purdue Pharma trained its sales representatives to tell doctors the addiction risk was less than 1%. That figure came from a letter, not a study. The letter was about patients with terminal cancer on short-term doses in hospital settings. Your doctor is a general practitioner with a patient who has a bad back. Nobody draws a distinction. Nobody is required to. The year is 2008. Your doctor checks your cholesterol. Your LDL is elevated. You are prescribed a statin. Nobody mentions that the number needed to treat for primary prevention is approximately 250. Nobody mentions that the muscle deterioration you'll notice over the next 2 years is listed as a rare side effect rather than a documented pattern affecting a meaningful percentage of patients. The trial that informed the prescription was funded by the manufacturer. Now it is today. Your doctor has new guidelines, new studies, new consensus. He is confident. He has always been confident. The confidence has never been the problem. The confidence is, in fact, precisely the problem.
Whoa.
What do you got to say about that, Joel?
Well, one of the things I thought that was really well written. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
he did
excellent.
a great job with that. That all of the medical freedom folks on X grabbed that and reposted it.
But, I was thinking, I bet when they're putting out new medicines over the last many decades, I bet they factor in the lawsuits into their, when they're planning it. Like they know that it's going to come back with massive lawsuits, class actions or whatever. So they go, well, how much can we afford? Okay, good. Let's put it out. And they know that it's
Yeah,
coming.
that
They don't care.
$4.85 billion that Merck made on Vioxx was a drop in the bucket to what they made
Right.
on that drug. A drop in the bucket. And they never faced any criminal charges for
They
all
never
of
did.
those deaths. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Why aren't there do we have nothing set up to go after these people?
I don't understand why. I don't. I don't have a logical, reasonable explanation as to why, other than the reach of Big Pharma has just been so vast
Wow.
and so corrupt.
They're not held accountable for anything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Sad.
Well, we've been covering microplastics over the last week or two. And just to remind you guys, microplastics are tiny little fragments or particles of plastic visible under a microscope, but not often visible to the naked eye. And we get exposed via contaminated food, water, or breathing in airborne particles. From Dr. Malone's Substack, let me just bring this up over here. He writes, "You are eating plastic every single day. Where it comes from: bottled water, food packaging, synthetic clothing." Who knew about that, right? And tire dust and in the environment. how it enters your body. We're getting a credit card worth of plastic each week. Each week. It ends up in our brain, heart, arteries, lungs, liver. What the science is finding is that it causes inflammation, DNA damage, hormone disruption, immune effects, and cardiovascular risks. How can we reduce our exposure? Well, first, use glass or stainless steel. Stop drinking out of those plastic water bottles. Don't heat food in plastic. And think about this too. We're going to talk about it a little bit further out. Those plastic containers that your food gets delivered in when you get takeout. Think about that, because when you add heat to these plastics, you're increasing the microplastics that are deposited into the food. Use a good water filter. Eat whole foods and choose natural fibers like cotton and linen. Yeah, we got a video from Gary Brecka. He actually did a filtration on himself. Let's take a look.
I've actually done blood filtration, like in use phoresis and therapeutic plasma exchange, where we measured the amount of microplastics that were taken out of my plasma. And much to what your earlier guest said, I took a full credit card worth of microplastics out of my body in a single filtration. So the fact the administration is looking at these, I applaud them for.
Amazing, right?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's-
When I first started looking at this, I didn't know anything about it. I had heard about microplastics, but I knew nothing about it or the
Right.
extent that we're exposed to it or even how to reduce our exposure. So we're all learning as we go,
Right.
and the more we know, knowledge is power, right? Because if you don't know that plastic water bottle could potentially, harm you, then you're going to keep drinking water out of it. But once we know and can make a different decision, then we're reducing our exposures. So did you guys know that you can be exposed to microplastics? Here was a new one for me this week from aluminum cans. Aluminum cans, like
What?
these. Yeah,
Microplastics?
microplastics. I'm going to tell you why. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
So from Paul Saladino on X, researchers at Columbia found 3.7 million nanoparticles in a single can of Coke.
Oh my God.
WTF. Your can of soda, energy drink, or beer is full of millions of microplastics and nanoplastics, and you probably don't know it. You think it's a metal can, but it's lined with plastic. That plastic breaks off into the liquid in the can over time. This leads to millions of microplastic, nanoplastic particles in your canned drinks. Microplastics have been found in testicles, ovaries, the brain, and every single human organ studied. These particles are linked with a host of issues in humans, including hormonal disruption, local inflammation, and gut damage. And that series of numbers, he's citing the study on the NIH website. Columbia University is leading this type of research using a type of imaging called SRS. It's stimulated Raman scattering microscopy. And he funny says zero relation to ramen noodles. Yeah, funny. In 2024, they published a landmark study showing 240,000 nanoplastic particles per liter in a plastic water bottle. And scooching down, just so I'm not going through all of this, a recent analysis by the same lab showed that a can of Coke was far worse. And he's got some information from the abstract. 3,740,000 micro nanoplastic particles in one can of Coke. He says, think about this. Every time you drink from a can, how many times do you do this daily? You're likely ingesting hundreds of thousands to millions of micro nanoplastics. But no one is talking about this because we forgot that cans are lined with plastic. The solution is simple. Stop drinking out of anything made from plastic or lined with plastic. This includes plastic bottles, cans, soup cans, and paper coffee cups. yes, those are actually lined with plastic. That's why they don't fall apart. Doing this isn't easy, but it will meaningfully reduce your exposure to a major toxin source in our current environment. And we have a video where he shows the Coke can. Here we go.
That is crazy. Look at that. The aluminum is gone and there's like a plastic inside the can. This is a great illustration of the plastic inside of a can. Oh, that's gross. It's literally like a condom inside the can. That's crazy. Did you know that when you drink a soda, when you drink a sparkling water that's in a can, anything you are drinking that's in a can, it has all of that plastic lining the can to prevent what's in the can from reacting with the aluminum. Microplastics are a big deal. They've been found in human testicles, human ovaries. They're probably endocrine disrupting. Forever chemicals are endocrine disrupting. They're hormone disrupting. They're in that plastic, touching everything you drink out of a can or a box that is also lined with plastic, and you are drinking that, and that is a major contributor to microplastics in your diet, to forever chemicals, and to hormone disrupting chemicals. There are simple solutions. Getting cans out of your diet because of all this plastic will significantly improve your health.
I did not know that about cans. Did you?
I had no idea that it was like a condom in a can. That's really what it was, and that was disgusting.
Yeah, I did not know. I mean, I just thought an aluminum can was an aluminum can. I just figured they chose aluminum because it doesn't react with whatever the liquid is in there,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't know what we didn't know, but now we know.
This is ruining every way I drink. I drink out of plastic bottles for water, and I drink Diet Coke out of cans. I've got to change all of that. Oh my gosh.
But it's not just the plastics, because it's the chemicals in the plastic. A chemical like BPA. Let's take a look at that.
I'm guessing you don't eat canned soup either.
Yes. Yeah. So the canned soup is interesting. Again, aluminum cans are lined with this plastic, lining, and that prevents the sort of breakdown of the aluminum, right? The metal. Unfortunately, it also causes these chemicals like BPA that are in the plastic lining to leach into in this case, the soup or the beverage or the liquid that they're contained in, right? There was this study that showed, I think it was it 1,000% increase of BPA after drinking like soup out of a can versus a soup out of a glass. 1,000% increase in bisphenol A levels. I mean, that is
Bisphenol A levels being
BPA,
which is the bad thing in microplastics.
It's one of the bad chemicals in plastics that is an endocrine disruptor. So it's disrupting hormones, and that can play a role in a lot of different things, depending on what we're looking at. So it's hugely important for obviously like neurodevelopment in children. So like pregnant women, but even like, disrupting hormones in general, like mimicking estrogen. I mean, that's not something that guys want to do either.
It's not just that the plastics are invading, but the chemicals in the plastics are wrecking havoc.
Oh my gosh.
And we didn't know popping open a Coke can could do this.
No.
Yeah.
And why were they allowed to do this?
Well, we've covered this on previous shows, but it's basically the GRAS thing. And GRAS stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. And it's a classification through the FDA, where initially it was designed when the FDA started, taking a look at additives, right? There was all of these things that were already being used in food that they didn't feel like they needed to evaluate for safety. Things like salt and pepper, normal things. And so they created this classification called Generally Recognized as Safe, meaning it's already in the food. We're just going to recognize it as already, it's just generally safe. And so this category has been absolutely overused and abused by the food manufacturers, because what happens when you're in this Generally Recognized as Safe is that the company says, well, we've been using, plastic liners in aluminum cans for all these years. And here's our study that says there's nothing wrong with it. And the FDA just took the manufacturer's word for it, essentially. And that's what Bobby Kennedy is changing. Bobby Kennedy is going, we're all done with this generally recognized as safe classification. We're going to go back and we're going to study every single one of these, and we're going to make it transparent to the public, and the public will demand change. And once we get that data, and all of that was in the Maha report, where they listed out a lot of these chemicals like BPA, and they're studying it. And when they have that data, it's coming. It's coming.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be one. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I see him making all sorts of changes, but a lot of them I don't understand, because we haven't been educated on this through our lives. So all of us have to get out there and force yourself to learn on your own, so you understand when the terminology starts coming at you,
Right. Which is why we do this show every week. This is what motivates me to do this show, so that I can at least help people understand and start getting this information out to as many people as possible. So once again, guys, please hit that thumbs up. Let's get us up on that board again and get the show in front of more eyes so we can educate more people. Because the more knowledge people have, the better choices we can make. So, Julie, we have another cancer breakthrough study. This one's going to kill you.
Okay.
I'm going to try to say this. Euangella americana. It's a bacteria derived from the gut of a Japanese tree frog. But this bacteria is eradicating 100% of tumors after a single dose in mice. I got a video for you to watch. Let's take a look.
Oh my God.
Gut bacterium derived from a frog from a Japanese rainforest. This bacterium called Euangella americana. This bacteria was injected into the tail veins of mice with giant tumors. 100% of the tumors were eliminated. They disappeared completely. The cancer was gone with a single dose. And so what happened was, through the injection of this bacterium, which is natural, by the way, it's not a GMO bacteria, it selectively went to the tumor site and destroyed it. And it wasn't in any other healthy tissues. They couldn't find it. It just went straight to the tumor, and it caused immune activation, hyperactivation, to destroy 100% of the tumors. And so, it's absolutely shocking. And in preclinical studies, it's almost unheard of to have complete tumor eradication with a single dose.
Why isn't this front page news?
Because they don't want us to know this information. I mean, we've reported. So the person that you were watching is a guy named Nick Hulscher, and he is an epidemiologist with the McCullough Foundation, and he is a great follow. If you guys aren't following Nick Hulscher, Hulscher, Nick NIC. Nick Hulscher on X, great follow. He's constantly putting out information like this. It's a great source of information for you. He's reported on last week. It was a study that the McCullough Foundation had done on ivermectin and mebendazole, eradicating or having a positive effect, not eradicating, having a positive effect on cancers reported from cancer patients in over 80% of those that were reporting.
Wow.
Previous studies, he's shown us that dandelion root is very effective against cancers. And I was really happy to hear that, because I take dandelion root every day. So we're just seeing so many more of these non-patented, non-pharmaceutical, more natural things over and over bubbling up that are effective against cancer that we knew nothing about. So,
non-chemical.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just huge.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if we hear any more information on that. It's a bacteria. How weird.
I'm surprised it's 100%.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
was
even, you don't see that.
Yeah, I was trying to do a little bit more research, what little bit that is out there, and they were saying that it's because it has something to do. It's kind of the same mechanism that the antiparasitic drugs work, and it disrupts the energy pathways for the tumor. So essentially, the tumors die because they can't get the energy that they need. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Well, back in July, the American Academy of Pediatrics sued HHS and RFK. And the reason they sued, they were challenging the changes that they had made to the federal vaccine policy, things like downgrading the COVID vaccine recommendations for children and pregnant women and the hepatitis B birth dose. They also challenged the ACIP committee itself. And ACIP is the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practice. And what that committee does is it hears data and information about vaccines and then makes recommendations to the CDC about the vaccines. Well, on March 16th, in relation to this lawsuit, this rogue judge up in Massachusetts put out a preliminary injunction. He issued it, and it stayed all the appointments of the ACIP members, because when RFK came in and was sworn in as HHS secretary, he took a look at this ACIP committee, and what he found was that they were all compromised and on the take from Big Pharma. So he said, you guys all have conflicts of interest. I'm wiping the whole committee and I'm reseating a whole new committee.
Nice.
Well, American Academy of Pediatrics, primarily funded by, let's take a guess, vaccine manufacturers, filed this lawsuit to try to stop them. Well, this injunction stayed all of the appointments, including all of the new members, invalidated all of their votes and their recommendations, and it blocked any further meetings of that ACIP committee and any implementation of the recommended changes to the vaccine schedule, which seems kind of crazy to me, because the judicial branch should not have a say in how the executive branch is operating.
Nope, you're right.
Yet they did, and they based it on the ACIP charter. And a charter is just basically the directions of how that committee is going to operate. But that charter is only good for 2 years. The injunction was on March the 16th, and the ACIP charter expired on April the 1st. And we were watching for a new ACIP charter, and one was released. So, yesterday, Children's Health Defense filed a motion in that lawsuit, asking for the court to pause enforcement of that March injunction because of the April 1st new charter. The new charter actually broadens member eligibility and redefines the whole mission of the ACIP committee. So the previous challenged members on this lawsuit now qualify. So we are currently awaiting a ruling on this motion that Children's Health Defense filed yesterday. And just as a sidebar information note, currently we have 29 states and the District of Columbia who have rejected the CDC vaccine guidelines and are following the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines. And I bet you can guess that the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines want you to, hyper inject all the vaccines all at once.
Yep.
So is everybody grasping the power of Big Pharma? Are you getting the grasp on this? 29 states and DC. Well, I'm here in Maryland, licensed as a nurse in the state of Maryland. And just recently we had the Vax Act just signed into law, and it will go into effect July 1st. Let's take a look at that.
With what all of this means for families, John, let's first start with this. When do these changes start? Yeah, this summer, July 1st. So it's going to come up quick, Adam. Good morning to you. And this is really Maryland preparing itself to take more of an independent approach when it comes to vaccines. So starting July 1st, under this new law, the VAX Act, the state will chart its own health course. So what does that mean exactly? Well, the law gives the state health secretary authority now to decide which immunizations, screenings, and preventative services are recommended, ending reliance on federal guidance from the CDC. Governor Wes Moore defending the move, saying Maryland's vaccine policy will be led by science, not online conspiracy theories. Now, the state will still rely on major medical groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics for guidance, and insurance companies will be required to cover any vaccines the state approves. Supporters say this change gives Maryland flexibility, especially after recent federal changes to routine childhood vaccine recommendations. But critics warn this could get confusing. Moving away from the CDC could create mixed messages for parents making health care decisions at home. Now, others question whether non-federal groups should have that level of influence in public health policy, especially at the local level. This is going to become quite a health care battle here in Maryland, and we will keep a very close eye on it. Reporting live, John Gonzalez.
So they're going to follow the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is basically a trade organization, rather than the CDC. And here's a really interesting thing that I don't think a lot of healthcare practitioners consider, or parents. So if a vaccine is on the recommended schedule for routine childhood vaccinations by the CDC, then that vaccine, all the liability regarding that vaccine is covered under the 1986 Vaccine Act, which means the vaccine manufacturer has no liability for any harm. The doctor or the nurse administering has no liability for harm. But if you're in one of these 29 states or here in Maryland, and you're following the health secretary who tells you, no, we're not going to listen to the CDC. You go ahead and give that birth dose of hepatitis B, and there is harm. You are not exempt from liability because you are acting outside of CDC recommendations. Therefore, the 1986 Vaccine Act liability immunity you will not be enjoying.
Whoa.
And that's important for both practitioners and for parents to understand. So
Yes,
if I was
it
a parent with a young child, I would be asking, this isn't on the CDC schedule. If there's any harm, your office isn't covered under the Vaccine Act. Did you know that? I would be a mouthy parent in a pediatrician's office.
Oh, at this point, so would I. Yep.
Yeah.
We didn't know back when my children were young. You know, I say that to my kids all the time. I'm like, I damaged you.
I have done the same thing. And I think that we all go through feeling some guilt because we didn't know what we didn't know. I've even gone through it as a nurse because not only did I have it as a parent, I had it as a practitioner, right? How many people have I potentially harmed when I trusted public health officials? I trusted when they said that this was safe to give. It's okay to give a flu vaccine. It's not going to hurt anybody.
We were taught since childhood to trust medicine, science,
The doctors.
Doctors. And that's what we did because that's the way we were taught. We just didn't know any better. And
Now we do.
now we do.
Well, today, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, abolished the military's requirement for service members to
saw
get the
that.
flu vaccine. Let's take a look at Secretary of War.
We're seizing this moment to discard any absurd, overreaching mandates that only weaken our warfighting capabilities. In this case, this includes the universal flu vaccine and the mandate behind it. The notion that a flu vaccine must be mandatory for every service member everywhere in every circumstance at all times is just overly broad and not rational. Our new policy is simple. If you, an American warrior entrusted to defend this nation, believe that the flu vaccine is in your best interest, then you are free to take it. You should. But we will not force you, because your body, your faith, and your convictions are not negotiable. Your health. It's common sense. It's the kind of common sense approach we're undertaking in this department.
That is great news, isn't it?
It really is. And it's also amazing to me that the same people that were screaming, my body, my choice, are the people that are pushing to have everybody vaccinated. I'll never get over that. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, I did miss the raid from Absolute Storm. Thank you, guys, and welcome, Storm Riders. Those of you that raided over, we really appreciate you being here. We'd also appreciate if you could hit a thumbs up for us. That would be awesome. Thank you. Well, let's move on to peptides, because this was amazing news. So, on April the 15th, Secretary Kennedy posted on X, "Today, we took long overdue action to restore science, accountability, and the rule of law." In September of 2023, the Biden FDA pushed a number of peptides into Category 2, bulk drug substances that raise significant safety risks, driving a dangerous black market that puts Americans at risk. Now, after nominators withdrew 12 peptides, the FDA will remove them from Category 2 and will bring them to PCAC, I'm going to cover this in a minute, at its next 2 meetings beginning in July, where independent experts will rigorously evaluate each substance on its scientific merits using full clinical, pharmacological, and safety evidence. And I'm going to skip those because we're going to go over those in detail here in just a second. This action begins to restore regulated access and will immediately begin shifting demand away from the black market. We will follow the science, enforce the law, and deliver the clarity patients, providers, and pharmacies deserve. So under Biden, the FDA placed those 12 peptides that you see on your screen into Category 2, which means that the FDA saw potential safety risks. And that meant that licensed compounding pharmacies, which are special pharmacies that mix custom medications, were banned from making them. So that restriction pushed many people to start buying these peptides from unregulated sources where quality is not controlled. So now the FDA is removing those 12 peptides from that restricted Category 2 back to Category 1, which means basically they are okay for now while we review sending them to PCAC, which is the Pharmacy Compounding Advisory Committee, in July for scientific review. So let's take a look at, generally, what are peptides?
Peptides might sound like the future of health, but they are already here. Here's how they work to heal your body. Peptides are sequences of amino acids. And why is that important? Because your body recognizes these. It can break them down. They're called metabolites, and it can get rid of the waste. When we put chemicals, synthetics, and pharmaceuticals into our body, there's no natural way for our body to break them down and get rid of them. So talk to your doctor about peptides and how a peptide might help you improve your gut health, improve the tone, texture of your skin, reduce fine lines and wrinkles, possibly restore your hair, raise your natural growth hormone levels, balance your hormones, and even reduce anxiety. Peptides are the safest wave of the future when done by a proper licensed physician. These things can change your life, guys, and they do not have the side effects that many of the chemicals we use in our daily life do.
So the wave of the future, right? And more safe, and your body recognizes them and can use them and get rid of them when they're done more readily than any pharmaceutical offered to us right now. So this is amazing stuff. This is amazing stuff. I'm going to walk through these, and for you, Julie, and for everybody listening, there might be one in here where you're suffering from that, and you're going, "Oh, well, that's interesting." Jot it down, take a screenshot, re-listen, but and go research some more. So BPC 157 is actually the most studied peptide. Preclinical data shows accelerated healing of tendons, ligaments, muscles, and gut tissue. Anybody having a problem with their shoulder or their knee by chance?
Me.
Yeah, this might be a peptide that can help with that. BPC also is showing anti-inflammatory, and it also helps promote new blood vessel growth. And I'm going to go through these guys on a really super general level. Clearly, there's a lot of information out there about peptides. We could talk about peptides for 12 hours. I'm just kind of giving you a general overview of the ones that they have targeted and are doing a tremendous amount of research, because I think these are the 12 that we're going to see move quickly back into a space where they'll be available with lots and lots of data. So the next one is thymosin beta-4 fragment. And this one is a fragment of a naturally occurring protein. It actually promotes cell migration to an injury site. It modulates inflammation, and this one also promotes new blood vessel growth. And forgive me if I am not pronouncing these well. Apitelan is also known as the longevity peptide. It's derived from, this will be interesting for you Q-tards, it's pineal gland extract.
Oh boy.
It restores melatonin production, improves our circadian rhythms, has antioxidant and anti-cancer properties. GHK-Cu is a copper peptide, and it's an injectable. It's naturally found in human blood, but our levels drop by 60% between the ages of 20 and 60. Human trials with this particular peptide shows it increases skin density, collagen production, elasticity, and wound healing. It also supports lung tissue repair. The topical form has solid human evidence, but it was the injectable form that they banned. MOTS-C. This peptide is actually encoded in your mitochondrial DNA. Research suggests it improves insulin sensitivity, metabolic efficiency, and cellular energy production. Lots and lots of people are having difficulty with insulin resistance, and this is a peptide that might be helpful in that. The next one is DSIP, and that stands for Delta Sleep Inducing Peptide. Your brain actually makes this during sleep. So this one promotes deeper, more restorative sleep. The next one is dihexacetate. This one is derived from angiotensin 4. And what this one does is it activates new synapse formation, increasing neural connections like in the brain. The next one is ibutamorin mesylate. And this one stimulates our pituitary gland to release more growth hormone naturally. This one is being studied for muscle preservation and for little old ladies like me, bone density. The next one is melanonotin 2. I hope I'm saying that right. Stimulates melanocortin receptors. So basically, this one is being studied for skin tanning and photo protection, so sun protection. KPV is being studied for gut and skin inflammation. Early research is showing that it has potent anti-inflammatory effects in issues like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. CMAX has been used clinically in Russia for decades. It upregulates BDNE, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's a whole lot of words. This one modulates dopamine and serotonin, and it supports neuroprotection. So this one is potentially very, very important in use for like depression and anxiety because it modulates dopamine and serotonin, which is exactly what the SSRIs claim they do.
Right.
Cathelicidin, LL37, is an antimicrobial peptide that your own immune cells produce. It's being studied for wound healing and infection resistance. This one also modulates inflammation and has demonstrated activity against bacteria, viruses, and fungi. And that PCAC there that RFK was talking about, again, that's the Pharmacy Compounding Advisory Committee. Its function is much like ACIP for CDC. This one provides advice and recommendations to the FDA on regulatory issues, and they're going to be meeting on July 23rd to begin all of this with these peptides. So, you know, if we kind of look at this like with a 40,000 foot view, when the FDA under Biden restricted all of these peptides from being compounded, a vacuum got created. So users had to turn to black market producers, and that exposed people to, you know, riskier products. Where and in that vacuum, big pharma could then pursue full FDA approval pathways to commercialize similar molecules at, you know, big pharma premium prices.
Right.
So this reclassification that the FDA just did under RFK keeps the cheaper, customizable, compounded versions viable, and they will compete directly with big pharma. So an example of like an FDA-approved peptide is like Ozempic and Wegovy, also known as semaglutide, that, you know, the fat shot drugs.
Right.
Well, yeah. So they faced their own battle with these compounding pharmacies. Do you remember back when there was a shortage of these drugs? Well, Big Pharma actually litigated successfully against the compounders because of this reclassification thing.
Oh my goodness.
It stopped the compounding pharmacies from offering lower cost alternatives. So that's why the reclassification of these peptides is so flippin' important, because it's all about economics and access, right?
Right.
The compounding pharmacies will keep the peptides safe, affordable, and available outside of big pharma control.
What was the motivation for the Biden administration? Was it just to be a-holes to us? And I mean, was that it, like ivermectin? Like it wasn't like that?
All of it is because they are compromised by big pharma.
That's
Just
what it
like we saw with, you know, the entire ACIP committee on the take from big pharma telling the CDC, oh yeah, we should approve this vaccine for children. We should approve that one for children. Yeah, this one is safe for pregnant women, even though we have no data. We're just going to keep making these recommendations because that's what big pharma is paying us to do.
Right. Okay.
And so we see the same playbook at play here with the peptides, because God forbid we should have access to a peptide that, you know, might keep you from not having to take an SSRI, given the fact that SSRIs are one of the, you know, the top prescribed medications in the country. Yet they don't want us to have access to something that allows us to not take an SSRI. They lose money because that's all it's about.
That's all it's not about our health. It never has been.
Never has been. And consider this. We were looking at those peptides. That KPV one was showing all this potent effects for like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, right? Well, those disorders are collectively known as inflammatory bowel disease. And biologics dominate the big pharma treatment for inflammatory bowel disease. So some common examples of these biologics, and as I go through this little list, I want you to think, Julie and everybody watching, think about the pharma ads that you guys have seen on TV, okay?
Okay.
For drugs like, let's go through those. These are the biologics that they use for inflammatory bowel disease. Humira, Stelara, Skyrizi. Have you seen that fabulous commercial?
Oh, yeah.
How about Entyvio or Rinvoq? We've all seen these ads.
Yep. They're
right?
everywhere.
So get this. Annual costs for those biologics average $22,000 a year. Average out-of-pocket costs for a patient suffering with those diseases with really good insurance averages $5,000 out-of-pocket costs a year.
Oh my gosh.
So these peptides, like I just said, what was it, KPV? These peptides could offer a cheaper, more individualized option for healing support, reducing the reliance on these expensive biologics. And, if you think about it, we're moving into something that is, first of all, something our body recognizes, something our body can use, and not just a pharmaceutical that manages the symptoms yet never addresses what's causing it. These peptides are potentially cures.
Oh my goodness. All I see is panic from all big pharma and the medical. I mean, it's panic when they see what's happening right now.
Oh, yeah.
This is historic. I mean, we're going to look back at this time and just be like, those are the days that we kicked their ass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And here's a video that I have played several times, and I continue to play it because Gary Brecka, his background was that he's a molecular biochemist, and his whole thing is he was a longevity expert. He worked with life insurance companies, and he could determine someone's, how long someone might actually live based on biochemical markers. That was his job for years and years and years.
Wow.
And now he's helping people, basically become the ultimate human and live longer and healthier. And he's been working with Maha, with RFK, on several different things, but he did this interview on Fox, and it just grabbed me, and I think it's amazing. I'm just going to play it, and then I'll hear what you have to say.
If you live the next 5 years, the odds of you living to 100 or more go up exponentially. You double and triple down on that statement. Tell us why.
100%. I believe if you're alive in 5 years from today, it will be your choice whether or not you want to live to 120, maybe even longer. For the first time in recorded history, we have the convergence of artificial intelligence, big data, and early detection. We have cancer detection now at stage 0. We have artificial intelligence which can take 700 trillion independent variables and create an actionable result. And we have big data that we can feed those AI models. So I think the future of healthcare looks very, very bright. It may upend modern medicine as we know it today in a way that will be catastrophic, but it's going to be the best thing to happen to humanity.
Wow. That's amazing.
If you can live, just stay alive, right? Mm-hmm. Minimize the toxins you're taking in, eat better food, stop taking the pharmaceuticals, don't drink the Diet Coke out of the can. If we can try to do a few things, and that where we're heading, that's amazing.
And that's what we need to hear. That's the kind of stuff that will motivate. Like, to me, that was a very motivating clip, because it's not just saying you got to make these changes and take these peptides. And it's saying, if you do this, this is what can come from just getting rid of some of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we need right now.
And potentially what's coming, right? What will be revealed? What's coming? Amazing. We're going to take a little intermission break here and do a little ad read. If you guys would, I'm just going to remind you again, hit that thumbs up, drop a comment below the show, and consider becoming a monthly supporter of the show. We would appreciate that. We're going to hear from the Wellness Company. So let's just do a quick little ad read from the Wellness Company. You know that stubborn ache that never quite goes away, the one that ice, heat, or pain pills barely touch? What if you could target it at the cellular level instead of just numbing it? That's exactly what TheraBlue was designed to do. TheraBlue is a next-generation pain-relieving peptide gel that works deeper than the skin's surface. Powered by aqua molecular delivery technology, it delivers peptides and botanicals directly into muscle tissue for legit lasting relief. Its hero ingredient is copper peptide, promotes collagen synthesis, reduces inflammation, and helps accelerate repair. NAD Plus restores cellular energy to aid recovery, while methylene blue protects your mitochondria and supports endurance. Natural extracts like MSM, turmeric, white willow bark, arnica, and ginger soothe inflammation. White menthol, camphor, and eucalyptus oil deliver instant cooling relief. It absorbs fast and leaves your skin refreshed, not greasy. Apply a thin layer, massage until absorbed, and let your body experience lasting recovery. You'll get 10% off by visiting twc.health/DOD. Use code DOD and move freely again with TheraBlue. So we just want to say thank you to the Wellness Company for that read. Okay. In January of this year, Julie, Bayer, through its subsidiary Monsanto Bayer Crop Science, filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pfizer BioNTech for their vaccine Comirnaty, Moderna's Spikevax, and Johnson & Johnson. Bayer claims the vaccine companies used their patented invention without permission. So, in the 1980s, scientists at Monsanto figured out this clever way to fix a common problem with mRNA, also known as messenger RNA, which is, it's like a recipe that tells your cells how to make a protein. The problem is that natural mRNA breaks down too quickly, or it doesn't work so well, and so not enough of the protein gets made. Their fix was that they removed certain bad parts of the genetic code, like specific sequences that made mRNA unstable. This then helped the cells produce a lot more of the desired protein. They originally used this little trick to help make GMO crops that could resist insects better, because it helped the plant produce more insect-killing proteins inside the plant. Bayer claims that the COVID vaccine manufacturers used this same formula to make the spike protein part of the vaccines work better.
Oh.
Okay, so wait just a damn minute.
Yeah.
The GMO crop patent made mRNA more stable and helped cells produce a lot more of the desired protein, like producing more spike protein.
Oh, no.
Yeah, let's take a look at Dr. McCullough.
Oh, no.
I'm going to ask a question I ask a lot of doctors. I may have asked it to you before. How do we determine that it's the vaccine that's causing these problems as opposed to it's the COVID virus itself that's causing these problems?
Advanced laboratories can tell, Grant. Now, when you get the virus, this is the spike protein. Let me bring it into view. You get the little tip of the spike protein in your body, but not the whole spike protein, because the segment near the virus is sacrificed at the ACE2 receptor. When you get the vaccine, you get the whole spike protein, the whole length. And this can be detected by laboratory testing. Indirectly, we test it with antibodies. So here in Dallas in my clinic, we measure antibodies. So if someone's had the natural infection, Grant, like you and me, we're probably 1,000. I had seen a lot of patients. I was 2,300. If you take the vaccine on the antibody scale, you can be 5, 10, 15, over 25,000 units per ml. Recently, Dr. Mary Telly Bowden from Houston was on Joe Rogan. She says her vaccinated patients have 10 times the inferred spike protein than those who just had the infection.
So if you got the vaccine and you have more spike protein than if you just had the natural infection, one might infer that your cells have been told by this mRNA vaccine to produce more of the desired protein.
Oh my. That's not good.
No. They used a technology originally developed for killing insects on crops.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm thinking that, I'm pretty sure folks might want to have known that before they agreed to have that injected into themselves or their children.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'd agree. This is criminal.
Yeah. Which is why, but get this about the lawsuit. Bayer, again, has filed this patent infringement lawsuit against the vaccine manufacturers. But Bayer is not seeking to halt vaccine production or distribution. No. Oh, no. We don't want to stop, the cash cow. They're pursuing damages and royalties on the global profits from the vaccines.
So still, they're just overlooking the actual problem and trying to line their pockets. That's where we are.
We just want our take of the till, guys. We just want our take of the till.
These people hate us.
Yeah, this is criminal.
They hate us. They hate us.
So the status of this current lawsuit, all three companies have filed motions to dismiss, arguing that the patent was originally for plants and insects, not humans. That's the argument for the dismissal.
So once again, overlooking the actual problem.
Yeah, exactly. That you have now taught the cells to make more spike protein.
Oh my God.
We've had no ruling on the motions to dismiss yet. You cannot make this up.
You can't make this up. You just can't. It's like as soon as they layer on, one thing, you find out more. It's like it's never ending with them.
Yeah.
It's really depressing. It's really depressing. And again, back to accountability. Something has to be done to these companies for the decades-long murders they've been perpetrating on humanity. They can't just get away with what they've done. They've destroyed life. They're killing people still to this day. They're just killing people.
I think, and this is just my opinion. I'm just, a chick with an opinion. I think we're going to see movement on this front once we start taking out the economics, because we're seeing the same thing happen globally, right? We have to, we're seeing it with Venezuela and Cuba and Panama Canal and the Strait of Hormuz, and all of that has nothing to do with Iran and has everything to do with the cabal, the Bank of England and the City of London, right? Big picture, we've got to, it's like a Jenga tower, right? We're going to pull out the economics first because that will destroy your power structure. And then the rest of the tower kind of falls once we pull out those economic foundational blocks, right? I think the same thing is going to happen, on this front, because what we're seeing is, and we'll get into it later, is death by 1,000 cuts to big pharma. You start knocking out big pharma's economic base, and then we can start going after what they've done criminally.
Also, one of the things I'm hearing a lot lately is the black pillars just saying that Trump is, he promised to take care of America first, and look at it. He's now dealing with all this foreign issue in Iran and whatever. I don't understand why people don't see that this is America first, what he's doing. He's out there handling issues like this. And this relates to the what you're just talking about as well.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to handle outside influences to protect your country or your body. You have to deal with them. They're the biggest part of the problem.
Yeah, I think because most people don't understand the extent of the foreign influence on everything here, on everything.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I didn't. I've been learning it the last 8 years. Watching Trump.
Learning as we go. Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
So last Thursday kicked off House and Senate hearings where RFK Jr. is defending the fiscal year 2027 HHS budget proposal. He testified before the full House Ways and Means Committee and the House Appropriations Subcommittee last week. Today, he was in front of the House Energy and Commerce Health Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee. So I just pulled one clip that kind of encompasses the direction that I think healthcare is going, and I am here for it. So I'll share this with you guys. From Gary Brecka on X, he said, "This is exactly the issue. We're rewarding intervention instead of prevention." We'll just stop right there. And I want you guys to think about what that means. We're rewarding intervention instead of prevention. So instead of getting to the root cause of your pain, your illness, your discomfort, the fact that your joint isn't working well, you name it, your metabolic issues, your insulin issues, you're not able to lose weight, name it. They're rewarding the interventions, prescriptions, surgeries, procedures, instead of preventing what's causing it in the first place.
Everything that makes you more reliant on them.
Yeah. He said we're rewarding treatment instead of education, because they don't educate patients on like diet or any other things that are within their control. Here, just take this pill. Here, have this procedure. Gary Brecka says your body was designed to heal, but no one profits from that. That's why changing the incentive structure changes everything. And he tags on to a post from Secretary Kennedy. We have a sick care system where people get compensated more for keeping patients sick. We need to align the economic incentives with the outcome of good health for all Americans. I'm going to start that video over so we can listen to it.
For keeping patients sick. Correct. We have a sick care system where people get compensated more for keeping patients sick.
Correct.
And, Medicare Advantage was supposed to be the template for outcome-based care. We have other templates for outcome-based care. The whole system ultimately has to be moved to that. Fee-for-service is not a way that we're going to get Americans healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We need to align the economic incentives with the outcome of good health for all Americans. We have a sick care system where people get compensated.
Sick care system. I'm going to call it that from now on.
Yeah.
It's not a healthcare system.
Yeah, it's not a healthcare system. It's a sick care system. And he's talking about the fact that right now you get paid for a service. You see a patient in an office, you get paid. You write a prescription, you get paid. You put anybody over the age of 55 on a statin, you get a bonus from the insurance companies. But nobody, you do the surgery, you get paid. But nobody's looking at, hey, did that prescription actually make that patient healthier? Did that surgical intervention actually improve the patient's symptoms?
My
Nobody's
mind
looking
is
at that.
racing. Like, how do you start motivating healthcare and doctors to try to keep us alive in a natural sense?
Money.
So money would do it? But what do they do? Keep
Money.
people alive and we'll pay you?
Basically, what he's trying to say is the incentive structure is going to be such that you're not going to get paid as a provider. You're not going to get paid if that patient's health doesn't improve. It's going to be outcome based rather than intervention based.
Boy, that would change it, wouldn't it?
Changes everything. Now, how they will do this,
Yeah.
I that is way above my pay grade. I can't even fathom what the rollout of that looks like, the implementation of that. I can wrap my head around the idea and go,
Right.
yeah, that's a great idea. But how in the hell you would implement that, I can't even fathom.
Well, because
But I'm here for it. I'm here for
Oh, yeah. Like RK Jr. was saying, they're going to have to revamp the entire, from the bottom up, the system, because it's so just deranged and corrupt. They must have a plan. They must have an idea how they're going to do this. And I'm so here for that. I would
Oh,
love
yeah.
to see them turn that around.
Oh yeah, it would change everything, completely.
Oh.
So this past Saturday, now we're going to get into this last one. President Trump held a press conference in the Oval Office where he actually signed an executive order titled Accelerating Medical Treatments for Serious Mental Illness. From that executive order, over 14 million adults in the U.S. live with serious mental illness. 8 million are on prescription medications for these conditions. Suicide rates have risen in past decades, and veterans are disproportionately affected, with over 6,000 suicides of our veterans annually. Since 9/11, more veteran lives have been lost to suicide than in combat. And I know you would agree with me, Julie, that in my opinion, this is a national disgrace.
Absolutely. It's beyond embarrassing that this is how we treat them. That this
Yes.
is the best we've got for them.
So the order directs federal agencies to speed up research, regulatory review, and access to certain psychedelic drugs, including a drug called ibogaine, as treatment for serious mental illnesses such as treatment-resistant depression or PTSD, and also substance use disorders. Let's hear from President Trump.
Today I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. The suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan, and he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay, and it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately, and that's what happened. This has probably never been anything happened so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number.
So ibogaine is actually a psychoactive Actually, before I get into that, the ibogaine is a psychedelic, and it was 7 months ago, Julie, that Dave from News Treason actually joined me here on Doses to discuss the therapeutic effects on ibogaine. We went through a whole show on this.
Okay.
So ibogaine is actually a psychoactive alkaloid. It's a chemical that alters psychological functioning, and it's derived from the root bark of the African shrub called Tabernanthe ibogue. It has been used traditionally for hundreds of years in African spiritual and healing ceremonies. And ibogaine actually acts on multiple neurotransmitter systems. This picture is a picture of a synapse, and it's the space. And this is where signals pass in our nervous system, okay? Ibogaine actually acts on these neurotransmitter systems, notably opioid receptors, serotonin receptors, sigma receptors, and NMDA receptors. When ibogaine gets metabolized or broken down, it produces something called noribogaine, and that's its principal psychoactive component. And that component actually acts as a natural serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So we're just going to pause right there. We've mentioned SSRIs. SSRI stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, a pharmaceutical drug produced in a laboratory that they make a butt ton of money on, that has all kinds of god-awful side effects. It mimics what ibogaine from a tree bark root does naturally. Serotonin reuptake inhibition. And basically what all those words mean is that there's more serotonin available, which can potentially alleviate depression.
Where did they figure this out? Did they figure it out from the bark and then create it chemically? And
If you look at the history of pharmaceutical medicine, which we could talk on for hours, but pharmaceuticals are based on petrochemicals. And this started when Rockefeller, who had a monopoly with Standard Oil, the courts came in and said, yeah, you got a monopoly, we're going to break this up. And it got broken up into all of these different companies like Exxon Mobil, right? Well, he had to figure out another way to make a boatload of money. So there was a laboratory in Germany that was actually using petro oil to create chemical compounds that they were then using to create petrochemical compounds that mimicked natural stuff.
Oh boy.
So then what he does is he gets this guy called Flexner to write this Flexner report, which got everybody in Congress to agree that we needed to change the entire medical system in the United States. All the medical schools, they start pouring money into medical schools. We're going to change your curriculum, and you're going to move away from natural medicine and naturopathy to petro-based medicine.
Jeez.
And so, yeah, most pharmaceuticals are based on what is available and occurs and heals naturally, like ibogaine. So ibogaine can actually also reduce drug withdrawal symptoms and cravings by resetting brain pathways and by then modulating the brain's reward system involved in addiction. I've got a video about that. Let's take a look.
Ibogaine is a hydrochloride. It is a purified version of a plant called iboga that comes from a root bark in central western Africa, in Gabon. It has a particular effect on the brain chemistry in three very important ways, particularly for PTSD, depression, and chemical dependency. One, it resets to the pre-addicted state, the serotonin 1 and serotonin 2 system. In normal chemical dependency treatment, when you take away the substance, there's severe depression. So that is eliminated or materially reduced. Number two is it resets the kappa opioid receptors to a pre-addicted state. And so there's no withdrawal and there's no craving. And then the third is it upregulates this protein in the brain, a naturally occurring protein called GDNF. It causes a human being to feel this sense of purpose, this sense of desire to grow and change. And you see it in a toddler. One day they're crawling around on the floor. Next day they're trying to stand up. And as soon as they stand up, they want to walk. They feel this profound satisfaction of change. So you combine those three effects, no depression, no craving withdrawal, with a desire to change. It is like a cure for the addiction. But of course, it opens up the opportunity for behavioral change.
For centuries, the Bwiti peoples of West Africa, who primarily reside in Gabon, have used ibogaine, which is an alkaloid from the mother plant iboga, in their spiritual and cultural traditions for centuries. In the mid-60s, an individual who was heroin dependent by the name of Harold Lotsoff encountered ibogaine, and he took it, and it resolved his heroin addiction. Not only did it resolve his heroin addiction, but it resolved any withdrawal that he would have otherwise experienced from abstinence. This touched off a 60-year explosion of observational field data, which has well documented that ibogaine has profound addiction interruption potential when taken by substance-dependent individuals, whether it's opioid, meth, alcohol, or anything else that can cause physiological substance dependency. It is not a now and forevermore cure, but it does create a window of physiological, psychological, and spiritual restoration for an individual to rebuild a shattered life. It is a very serious medication that comes with cardiac danger and should never be taken by a person on their own without strict medical supervision and a clinically controlled medical setting.
So that was Brian Hubbard. And if you noticed on that Trump video from him signing the executive order last Saturday, Brian Hubbard was standing right behind him.
Oh, wow.
As he signed that executive order. So they've been lobbying to try to get ibogaine changed for years and years and years. Back in 2024, when RFK was still in the presidential race, he posted about ibogaine. He said, and this was on January the 9th of 2024, the FDA lists this powerful healing substance on Schedule 1, meaning no therapeutic use and high potential for abuse. Absurd. I will deschedule ibogaine and all psychedelic medicines. And now he has.
You know, this, all I could think of when I was watching those is this gives hope to people that just their lives have spiraled because of drug addiction or depression or both. This literally is something that's going to start giving people hope to changing their lives when they have done.
And then we think about the PTSD with our veterans, right? They're suffering. They're suffering and they have no hope and they don't have any solutions, right? This is a solution. So Rogan spoke at that press conference. Let's take a look.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that you see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
Amen.
Yeah. Amazing, right? Well, Trump spoke about the Ibogaine. Let's take a listen.
In 2024 study from Stanford University, 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries underwent, it's called Ibogaine treatment. Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, would you say? Yes. I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take some. I'll take whatever it takes.
So he said, remember the name. It's so important. And this is why he purposefully stumbles on the pronunciation of words. It's a tool that he uses to add significant emphasis, right?
It makes you remember the name.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the media jumps all over it, and it's just like Streisand effect, right?
Yes.
So in June of 25, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas signed Senate Bill 2308 into law, allocating $50 million in state funding for clinical trials to study Ibogaine's potential as a treatment for opioid use disorder, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and other mental health conditions, particularly for veterans. This EO, the executive order that Trump just signed, directs HHS to allocate an additional $50 million to support collaboration with states like Texas developing these psychedelic programs. Additional information from that executive order Trump signed, the FDA is directed to issue priority vouchers for eligible psychedelics, which then fast tracks the review. Let's hear from Dr. Marty McCary with the FDA.
Next week, the FDA will issue 3 national priority vouchers for serotonin 2A agonists, also known as psychedelics. Under this new program, in this administration, drugs can get approved in weeks, not a year or a year plus, but in weeks, if they are in line with our national priorities. We have 18 vouchers in the program. We'll be adding 3 more next week. This is an unmet public health need, and there are potentially promising treatments. That's why there's a sense of urgency around this. That's why we're doing it now. The applications are about to come in, so this is the natural, perfect timing for this announcement. For many men and women, they have been fighting battles on the ground. But even after the wars are over, those battles continue in their mind. Now, there are a lot of medications in medicine where we don't know exactly how it works, but we see profound results. If we actually listen to those who experience the therapeutic value, we can learn as a medical field. We just have to listen. The stories of those individuals with dramatic results, that is data. That is scientific data, even from a single individual. We also have randomized controlled trials. And we have to do that because we need to be able to say there's good support when we recommend these therapeutics. If you look at those trials, there's a 30 to 40% remission rate for conditions like PTSD. Otherwise, we got nothing. We have almost nothing for these conditions. And today, the FDA is also announcing the first Ibogaine investigational new drug clearance. This will pave the way for the first and ever human trials in the United States. To be clear, the FDA will also have criteria and circumstances that have to be used to administer these drugs. These drugs can have side effects, and so it's not like you go to the pharmacy and pick it up. It's like medications that are administered in an ICU or an operating room. There are criteria for doing it in a controlled setting. Finally, given the urgency of today's mental health crisis, I just want to thank you, Mr. President, and say the FDA is proud to support this broader effort to evaluate new therapeutics for some of the greatest Americans we have in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Doing a great job, too.
So, any comments on that one?
No, it's pretty clear to me that there's been a plan that was enacted several years back, maybe longer, right?
Yep.
Where they all knew that it was going to start climaxing in his second term. And it's amazing to watch these pieces, these puzzle pieces start to fall together and create what they're doing right now. I think it's amazing.
Well, the interesting thing, Dr. McCary was kind of emphasizing this isn't something that you're going to go down to your local pharmacy, pick up, and come home and take, right? This is going to be a controlled setting under medical supervision in a treatment facility. And when I did the dig on Ibogaine 7 months ago, what we did find was that one of the issues that they were seeing with Ibogaine was that it could cause some cardiac arrhythmias. And so they were very careful to monitor while you were under the therapy. But also there was research going on at several different institutions where they were there was a study that was done in Texas where they added magnesium to the Ibogaine, and that took care of the cardiotoxicity that was causing the abnormal heart rhythms. And then at another institution, they were looking at trying to maintain the therapeutic effects, because one of the negatives is that folks don't like the idea of the whole hallucinogenic part of it as you go through the treatment. And so what they were trying to do was to maintain the therapeutic aspect of it while minimizing the hallucinogenic. So we may see something that comes out of all of this research where they're able to offer this to folks without it being a problem with the heart, kind of like we saw with chloroquine versus hydroxychloroquine. When I was a brand new nurse, they were using chloroquine to treat malaria, but it had at high doses some cardiotoxicity. Well, they revamped it, added a hydrogen molecule to it, and now, folks take hydroxychloroquine for their whole lives for things like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, and it's safe even for pregnant women. So revamping the chemical structure of the molecule can change the way that it operates. So they are currently researching all of this to try to make it therapeutic without the negative side effects and potentially without the hallucinations. So, we'll see how this goes. Ibogaine currently is illegal in the U.S. It's a Schedule I controlled substance. So that means drugs that have no currently accepted medical use. And that's a category that's assigned by the DEA. Other drugs that are on Schedule I include things like heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and peyote. And that's all according to the DEA. Under this new executive order that Trump just signed, pathways for patient accessing get expanded under the Right to Try Act, including authorizations, these special authorizations for handling Schedule I substances. So here's another video from Dr. McCary with our favorite chick from CNN. Let's take a listen.
Mental health crisis.
Yeah, and I think anyone wants help for someone who has PTSD or veterans. But on the technical front, I mean, if the DEA is still classifying this as a Schedule I drug, alongside drugs like heroin, how does the FDA fast track approval for something like that?
Well, that's a good point. So the FDA has a system with the DEA by which when a drug becomes FDA approved and the FDA sets clear criteria, then it can be given with a transient descheduling, that is exempt from those enforcement rules because it's given in a hospital setting or in a clinic setting under clinical supervision. So if these drugs are approved, if this class of drugs that are known as psychedelics, we call them serotonin 2A agonists or perception altering drugs, if they do get approved, these are not the medications you'll just pick up at a pharmacy. These are given in a controlled, supervised setting in a hospital.
So he's reiterating that whole thing. But so again, the executive order directs the attorney general to then review and potentially reschedule the substances that have successfully completed the trials. And then finally, from the executive order, HHS and the FDA will collaborate with the Department of Veterans Affairs to increase clinical trial participation with our vets.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And I pulled a clip, Julie, from Rogan that kind of demonstrates how the narrative war plays out in our information space. This is a great example of what we see in the narrative war.
Oh, okay.
Let's take a look.
The other thing, the big conspiracy theory is that Trump is mad at you and he came up to...
Before I continue, I'm going to start it over. I just want to do a language warning before we play it because there's a couple of F-bombs. So, language warning. Turn it down if you have to, if you got littles.
The other thing, the big conspiracy theory is that Trump is mad at you and he came up to the UFC and he was talking shit to you?
No, it was the opposite.
That video came out and it was like, look, Trump's fucking Joe Rogan getting embarrassed by Trump at the fucking UFC event.
It was literally the opposite. I texted him on Friday about Ibogaine, and I was telling him how there's
that's
all
a
these
that's
vets.
a hallucinogen?
This is the one the vets use.
Yeah.
I told him about it. I said how effective it is, and I said, and it's been held up for so long. And he said, what are you looking for? Are you looking for FDA approval? He goes, it sounds good to me. He said, let's do it. And so literally he sees me at the UFC the next day, shakes my hand and says, it's done.
Wow.
That's what he was saying.
That's so funny.
I was like, and I said, thank you, sir. It wasn't like he was mad at me at all.
People
It was
jump
the
on these
opposite.
like conclusions like...
Well, that's okay. You're allowed to. But this is the truth. That's exactly what happened. He came to me and he said, it's done. We're going to take care of it. This is a good thing. It's a good thing for the soldiers. It's a good thing for everybody. And then he had the press conference the next week.
He had the press conference the next week. Yet all we saw in the narrative space was that Trump and Rogan are at each other. It's just ridiculous. Trump was letting Rogan know it's done, dude. We're gonna have a press conference next week.
Yeah, I saw that. I ignore that stuff. I've gotten pretty good at ignoring those things now.
Yeah. So I think, overall, Julie, I think we're seeing this massive direction change. I mean, when you look at everything that we talked about tonight, right? We're witnessing a move toward individual health sovereignty. And the more we take control of our own well-being, whether it's through peptides or alternative psychiatric modalities or simply just declining a flu shot, the weaker the control of the big pharma establishment. And man, the EO on the psychedelics, wow. Because the psychiatric industry is the most vulnerable sector of big pharma. Because for decades, their narrative has been that all of these mental health issues are simple chemical imbalances. And it's fixable only by, their patented SSRI. Well, I just showed you how Ibogaine works just like an SSRI. Yet Big Pharma has convinced everybody you have a chemical imbalance. Here, take this pill and suffer the consequences.
That's the phrase I know. You have a chemical imbalance. That's all I've ever heard. I mean, I'm not saying about towards me, but to anybody. Chemical imbalance. Chemical imbalance. Yep.
Right, which is not true.
No,
not true.
Not.
Because what we know, because we've talked about it here, is that 80% of the serotonin, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter, 80% of serotonin is produced in our gut. And so if you spend decades spraying all of our food with folic acid and spraying the crops with, herbicides and pesticides and feeding us seed oils and high fructose corn syrup and plastics and BPA and all of the other toxins that we are, being inundated with. It's ubiquitous everywhere. Gee, I wonder why our guts aren't functioning properly and making enough serotonin, driving the epidemic in depression and anxiety that we're seeing, even to the point that in the Maha report, they had to list depression and anxiety and how it's affecting children.
Yeah, and I mean, this is an area that I focus on often. All these shooters, the one with President Trump, all of them, every single one of them is on these SSRIs. Most of them are autistic. Most of them are on massive amounts of drugs and have been for years. When they find the therapists, which aren't always findable, but when they do, these kids have been on them since they were 5.
Yeah.
Like, why do you do that? What are we doing?
Right. And the whole idea that, it can be something as simple as changing what you eat and potentially using a natural based medication like Ibogaine versus the petrochemical big pharma SSRI with all of its side effects.
And what I've always thought? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, honey.
I was just going to say, what I've always thought, and I guess I learned it through the educational system. I don't know, is that whenever they said, try something natural, try this, that it meant it's not going to work as good. Like, that's how my head still kind of views it when I hear try something natural is, yeah, but it's not going to be as quick and fast as if I get the pill for it.
Wow.
We've been conditioned. I guess I've been conditioned to believe that,
Well, I'll give you a great example. I've told this story on the show before. I was at work a couple of weeks ago working in the recovery area. So, I'm taking care of a patient that's just waking up from surgery. The gentleman had had his gallbladder removed. So he was still in the recovery area. His wife had come in so that we could go over discharge instructions. So I complete the discharge instructions, ask her if she has any questions. And she says, well, yeah, are we going to get like a pill, and the patient says, I already picked up the pain medicine. We have it at home. And she said, no. I know about the pain medicine. I mean like a pill for, and she starts to do this, like for, and I looked at her and I said, you mean like to help with digestion since we took out the gallbladder? She said, yeah, that. And I literally had to look at her and say, ma'am, we don't have a pill that's going to replace the function of an organ.
Oh my God.
But that is the state that medicine, and it's not her fault.
No,
she has been conditioned to expect a pill for everything, including a pill that will replace organ function.
I got to say, I mean, I'm laughing at that, but I don't think I'm much different, to be honest. I'm starting to wake up to this. Like, this podcast is, what a brilliant thing you're doing. But things like this, I'm starting to, because I've always thought there was a pill for everything. I'm not joking.
Right. We've been conditioned. You've been conditioned as a layperson. I've been conditioned to give you the pills. Like, we've all been conditioned. Yeah. And we never had a reason to question it.
No. And if you did question it, you didn't get far because we don't have a lot of knowledge. They didn't give us the knowledge to question anything.
Right. But Today, we have these things right in the palm of our hand.
Yeah, we do.
We can research, and now we have these AI tools that help us research.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, we've wanted to see, all of us have, this massive, dramatic takedown of Big Pharma, right? Mm-hmm. But instead, if we pay attention, like I was talking about with the Jenga tower, right? We're seeing this slow, steady torture of death by 1,000 cuts. And I feel like it's ramping up. I mean,
I do too.
Just in our show, look at I'm sorry, but the military gets to say no to your vaccine. And gee, I don't want to take your medication. Instead, I'm going to try a peptide. And no, I'm not going to take your SSRI. I'm going to try this instead. And so this is needling death by 1,000 cuts to Big Pharma.
And it's slowly waking people up, just like we're doing to, in politics and our country and how we function. It's slowly, like just tonight, spending this time with you. I've learned so much here that I'm going to take away. I've been making notes, by the way. I've had a hard time doing the show with you because I have my phone out and my notepad, and I've literally been taking notes through the show because you've literally opened my eyes to things tonight that I've heard little bits and pieces of, and I hope that other people feel the same way, and they're getting, because this is what's going to collectively make us all go, what have we been doing? Let's be healthy.
Yeah.
And this country needs it. We're the most unhealthy country, I think, in the world.
Right. And when we cover all of this, it's, it can be heavy, right? There was a couple times tonight you're going, good God, I can't even drink my Diet Coke. I can't drink my water. I'm like,
The Diet Coke thing.
Like this past weekend when I'm down here in the pit prepping for the show, my husband came down and he had gone to the grocery store at some point, and he came home and he walks down here to the basement to my little pit office and he says, oh my God, I cannot find popcorn anywhere that doesn't have seed oils in it. I'm like, nope, it's almost impossible. He's like, I'm getting a popcorn maker. So then he tells me he's ordered a popcorn maker and organic popcorn. So on Sunday we get the popcorn maker and the organic popcorn, and he comes down. I'm working on the show. He comes down and he's like, the popcorn maker is made out of plastic and aluminum. So which is worse, the seed oils or the plastic and the aluminum? I don't even know.
Okay, so that's something I would like to touch on here, though, because one of the things that has kept me from learning more is because I think I've got a block up in my head. I definitely have a blockhead, but I have a block because I feel like right now, there's not much, we're kind of boxed in. All the food out there is processed and poisoned. I don't know where to begin. Do I get rid of everything? Do I start here? Like it's a lot to take in and feel like I don't even know where to begin.
It is. So what I have told people is it's just one better decision at a time, right? So if I were going to make a recommendation, the first thing I would say is first, stop drinking water out of plastic bottles. That's one of the first things I did because I drank water out of plastic bottles and now I have metal and that's what I drink water out of now. Now, it's even hard to completely get away from that because even though this is metal, the top is plastic. But this isn't sitting out, wrapped up in plastic, sitting in a hot truck.
Right.
Where all that heat with all that plastic and then gets brought to my grocery store where I buy it. So that would be the first thing. The second thing, I think the most important thing to get rid of in your diet is seed oils. So you want to get rid of things like canola oil, palm oil, safflower oil, and you want to stick with oils that aren't as inflammatory. And here's why. So when hubby comes down and he's like, what's worse, the seed oils or, the aluminum and the plastic and the popcorn maker? I said, the seed oils. Because our bodies are naturally designed to get rid of toxins. If we have a functioning immune system and you don't have a mutation like I do, MTHFR, and the people who watch the show know what that is. I won't get into it with you because we'd be here another 3 hours. So some of us have a gene mutation called MTHFR. If you're curious, go back and watch, I think it's episode 33 and episode 51. I covered it twice. For those of us that have that gene mutation, we don't clear toxins as well. I went and got tested. I have it. And so we have to be more cognizant of toxins. But a normal person with a normal functioning immune system is going to clear toxins. So whatever little bit you might be exposed to, popping your popcorn in your aluminum plastic popcorn maker, your body will probably clear. Those seed oils are linoleic acid, which is super highly inflammatory, causes inflammation of your blood vessels, inflammation of your organ systems, and it deposits in fat tissue, and it hangs out in your body for 2 years. It takes your body 2 years to clear seed oils. So right now, even though I've learned this in the last year or so, I'm still walking around with seed oils that I ate 18 months ago when I didn't know better. So for me, I'm making that choice every day. I'm still clearing the seed oils I ate 18 months ago. I'm not adding any more in.
Can you become completely seed oil free?
I think it would be damn near impossible because it's so ubiquitous. It's in everything. But again, I emphasize, let's make one better decision at a time. If you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy some chips, try to get some chips that are made with avocado oil because they're out there now. Try to get some chips made with olive oil. Avocado oil and avocado and olive oil are better because those seeds are pressed and the oil comes out. But things like canola oil that you see in the aisle, all pretty yellow. Canola oil is a nice word for rapeseed. Rapeseed is where they make canola oil, and the only way they can extract it is with god-awful chemicals like hexane at very high temperatures, which oxidizes it, and then it's rancid and gross smelling, so then they put a bunch more chemicals in it to make it not smell bad and to bleach it out so it's nice and pretty, and then they put it in what? A plastic bottle. So I buy good olive oil in a glass bottle. And here's another little trick at your average grocery store. If you're standing and looking at the oils, look up because the good ones are usually on the top shelf.
I've learned that. Learned that. You're right.
Most of the stuff I buy now is on the periphery of the store. And if I'm in the middle aisles, I'm getting stuff off the top shelf because I have to literally climb.
Yeah.
Because I'm this big. So I climb to get the stuff I need. Or I ask somebody who's tall, can you get that way back there?
Can you get that for me?
Yeah. So those would be the two things I would say right away is to and again, you're not going to be able to do it all at once. Just one better decision at a time. Little by little, changing things out. Like it took me months and months and months to get rid of all of the plastic Rubbermaid food containers I had in the kitchen. Now I'm all with glass. It took me months and months and months exchanging one pan for another, getting rid of all of that nonstick cookware and moving to stainless steel and others, like oh my gosh, I have such a brain cramp for it. The metal ones, not stainless steel, cast iron. So all of my pans now are either stainless steel or cast iron. Getting away from plastic cutting boards. All of my cutting boards are bamboo. And, some people like Magadai, who joins me regularly, she uses like glass cutting boards. So we're minimizing all of those microplastics that happen when we're cutting on a plastic. So it's little decisions at a time, one at a time. We make a better decision, and then we're reducing how much toxicity we're ingesting, how much we're exposed to, and then we get a little healthier. And as far as like going to the grocery store and food, if we can stay away from the packaged stuff and eat, like RFK says, eat real food. And if you can, stick with the organics because then you're getting less herbicides and pesticides on your food.
Okay.
So
this is all doable.
It's doable. We just have to do it, one good decision at a time. We start to get better. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to try to close us up here. I do want to acknowledge that LP Cini is now a monthly supporter. Thank you so much for your support. I am so grateful. Thank you. And Doc Eads, one of my favorite humans, $2 rant says, great show, BB. You are fantastic Where we go one, we go all. Thank you so much, you guys, for your support. It is so appreciated. This Friday, I hope you guys will join us for our second episode of our new show, Deception Distilled. Patrick Gunnels and I, every Friday, live at 5 o'clock. We are bringing you your weekly health headlines update. So if you don't have time to sit and listen to a 2-hour show to figure out what's going on, hit us up for an hour. You're caught up. We'll bring you up to date every Friday on the weekly health headlines for the week. Next week here on Doses of Deception, Tuesday at 8 p.m., Dave from News Treason will be joining me. So I hope you guys will tune in. Julie, do you have any last minute words to add?
Well, I just want to thank you because now I'm going to start scheduling your shows in. I'm not joking. I really am. I didn't know this was here. You've given me a little bit of hope because this is something I've wanted to focus on, but I really didn't know where to start. And I think I'm going to start with you. And I'm also going to start sharing you in my Telegram room too, because I think this is one area. I have this Telegram room for the last 5 years or whatever. I put the news bites in there, but I don't really focus on this because I haven't known much about it. I'm going to start sharing you there too.
Oh, thank you.
Love that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all that support because really, I started the show and you may not have ever heard this, and I'll just share the story and then we'll close out. I've been a nurse for 34 years. I'm 60 years old. My children are grown. I have grandchildren. And it was during COVID that I woke up because I was working outpatient surgery. And when everything shut down during COVID, outpatient surgery centers were shut down and all of our resources like our PPE and our anesthesia machines and all of that got, reallocated to the hospitals for, the pandemic. And so for the first time in my entire career, I'm sitting at home on unemployment. And when everything shut down, I was really freaked out because I had spent the first 23 years of my career as frontline emergency trauma nurse. So I had worked on the front lines through all of these different pandemics. And we never shut down. We never wore masks and all of the insanity that we saw. So I was really afraid, like, what kind of virus is this? Because I've never seen anything like this as a frontline healthcare worker.
Mm-hmm.
And it was standing in my living room with a paintbrush in my hand with, the news going 24 hours a day. And I have a paintbrush in my hand because I'm bored. I'm sitting at home and I'm painting everything. Everything in my house I'm painting. But the story came on the television about the hospital ships on both coasts, the Mercy and the Comfort.
Oh, yeah.
And how they sat empty and how sick nursing home patients were being sent back in the nursing homes. And it was as if God himself tapped me on the shoulder and said, your turn. Wake up. Wake up right now. Because the overwhelming sense was, oh my God, this is nefarious. Oh my God, they're going to kill the old. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then that began the journey of they're lying to me. What else have they lied to me about?
Oh, wow.
And I read all 4,000 Q drops. I took notes. I went down every rabbit hole. I woke my parents up with the Out of Shadows movie. That's how they woke. That's how I woke them up. That's how I red pilled them. And and I spent the next couple of years trying to figure out, okay, God, you woke me up.
Now what?
What do you want me to do with all this? Because I'm wearing everybody out around me, wearing out my family, and so that's where the idea of this show was born. And a lot of it too is for because I went through a really dark period during that wake up where the weight and the depth of the deception hit me, and I realized that as a nurse I had been used by the medical industrial complex to harm people. And so this show is part of how I give back. This show is how I make that right. This show is how I participate in the solution rather than the problem, because they are all done using this nurse to do their bidding.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So
I think we all have these stories. Yours is pretty good though, because you're in the medical field, something I wasn't in. I've thought about you people many times through the last 6 years or so, what you all went through, because most of the people are just unknowing people. They didn't realize they followed the orders that they were given. They thought they were doing the right thing. And then the guilt that goes along with it, just like I was talking about with my own children and your children,
Right.
like we can't be blamed for it. We didn't know, but I feel for you, and I feel for people in that position. Because
Well, and I think that what you're describing is part of the reason why the medical community is the slowest to wake up. Because
yes, I think you're right.
Because they have to come face to face with that, and it is painful. And most people avoid pain. They don't want to face that. They don't want to feel that.
Nope.
So
but
it's
that's how you
common.
wake up.
You can either wake up slowly or you can bend over and have the suppository inserted, but it's coming one way or the other. Yeah.
And it's starting to come fast now too. So
Yeah.
Buckle up, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining me. I thoroughly enjoyed our evening together.
I did too.
And everybody, thanks so much for tuning in with us. We appreciate you joining us. We hope you all have a great week. God bless all of you. And again, thank you, Julie. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we're going to close out with a little Fleetwood Mac.
If I could turn the page in time, then I'd rearrange just a day or two. Close my eyes, but I couldn't find a way. So I'll settle for one day to believe in you. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Although I'm not making plans, I hope that you understand there's a reason why. Close your